have been overthinking this video because I kept trying to work out what it needed to be. A Madrid travel vlog, a continuation of my previous video, or some kind of explanation of what comes after. The truth is, I still don't know what comes next. I filmed this trip before I publicly shared that I was stepping away from full-time travel on YouTube. At the time, I only knew that something felt different. I was finding it harder to travel and create in the same way, but hadn't yet understood what I was ready to leave behind. I originally filmed this casually for Patreon with no plan to publish it here. Looking back, that is probably why it captured me more honestly. So this isn't a Polish guide to Madrid or a neat story about starting over. It is simply a record of me somewhere in between. This is the Madrid video I almost didn't publish. Good morning! Welcome to Madrid. So I've just landed yesterday and this is my first time being in Spain actually. I flew from Manchester via Iberia airline, which was my very first time being on that flight. And it was not the most convenient one, but it was fine. It was quite busy, but I think so far it's been so lovely and quite exciting to be in Madrid. I mean, it's not even 24 hours, but I've enjoyed my first quick glimpse into the city. So I thought, why not, while getting myself acquainted with this city, I also would like to take you along with me. I'm still nervous. I don't know why I'm a bit nervous. So I think behind me is the Churros place, and it seems to be really popular amongst locals. But I got stage fright being in a public, and if I don't know how the system works, I'm sure it's fine, but it takes a lot of courage, right, solo traveling. Also, it's really busy, so I'm already like, I don't have anyone to help me with, so let me see if I can brave it myself. Oh my God, it took an entire courage in me to just stand here and witness what to do. So thankfully I'm getting myself a seat, and I've said churros and chocolate. It will be €3. Gosh, it's so nerve-wracking. I don't know why I'm becoming more and more so apprehensive, but it's so great to just witness it. It's lively, it's local place, like genuinely so cool. Right, I've got my churros in front of me and chocolate to dip that with. Gosh, this is so busy. I don't know, something bigger over there that looks similar to this but bigger. I'm not quite sure what are those. Like, it seems like you dip that into coffee. I'm dipping my churros into this thick chocolate. I'm not sure if this is a good breakfast experience. Churros is so light and crunchy. That churros, as much as it was great, it was too sweet for something that I eat first thing in the morning. But I think the act of being at that local cafe, being surrounded by Spanish speaking, was an act of courage on its own. So I'm glad and very proud that I was able to do that. So I'm walking back to my hostel because I forgot my water bottle. But this road that I've been walking on since yesterday is quite lovely because to your right You've got fresh flour, and I think that's where I got my coffee this morning. It's an espresso bar. The place is so tiny though. Coffee was nice. I love those kind of patios, and it looks like these are apartments, whereas on the first floor it's a business some kind. So I'm just standing on the patio of the hostel, and this morning I was getting ready, doing my makeup, hair, and I just felt very grateful. So while I'm here, I thought, why not talking to you about my reasoning being in Madrid and my plan so far. I have my Schengen visa that will be expiring next week, and I thought this is the only time I can take to see my friends that I've not seen for well over 5 to 7 years, I think, or more. I'm not even sure the last time I saw these two. And they live in Portugal and Sweden. But anyway, I think I would like to just get comfortable being in Madrid, because yesterday was my very first time being in the city, and I got range on, but also it was my first day of period. So if you know female struggles, it's just not fun. I feel like a kid in the candy shop, because as much as I love going to places that are not so popular, and often I get really apprehensive when it comes to popular places, but perhaps there are certain places being so popular for a particular reason, and Madrid is probably one of it. So yeah, I am just enjoying being in a city like this. It's not too busy, at least the district that I'm currently staying at. I love the look of this on a screen, and it looks like there's a few coffee shop and like hipster place to eat. Even this bagels, specialty bagels and matcha. So the street continues on, and it seems to me that sometimes things like this is such a nice surprise. So this is, I think, Malasaña, because you've got a great variety of shops that looks a bit more hipster, and perhaps along the way you'll find some more vintage shops. So I found this Tita de Buenos Aires, which seems that they have a lot of empanadas, and in fact it's the world best empanada in 2024. So I'm still a bit peckish. It's just that I'm not too hungry for like a bagel, just as so. And I thought empanadas may fit into the context of having Spanish experience with churros and empanadas. And I think I find some migration story is a bit more interesting, because whilst I'm here, I've seen more like Southern American facial structure and people, and I think perhaps some of them migrated here as well because of the common language that they speak Spanish. So empanadas is this like, do you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of samosa in Central Asia, and many places in Southeast Asia have got this too. Probably a bit more pastry-like rather than dumplings in China or East Asia. So the filling is beef, onion. Anyway, this is a bit more traditional. Whereas I also got ham and cheese. know what I've realized is that this is the very first time I've been in South Europe, because it's mostly either Eastern, Northern. Yeah, this is probably why I got a bit more inspired, because some of the aspects that I probably have seen fractions of in other countries. Yeah, I don't know, I feel a bit giddy for being just in a city by myself. This is a high street where so many big international brands are. So I don't think I've been here, because yesterday it was pretty rained on. So over here is predominantly where tourists seems to be shopping. So you've got Levi's, you've got several other brands that I'm probably not familiar with. Rituals, which is a Dutch brand and popular in the Nordic as well. This is the most people I've seen so far in the city. I'm just having the best of time shopping on this arcade, and I didn't plan to do that, alright, but I think it's part of me turning 34 this year, and I feel like I'm in this very weird era of my life where I just feel stuck with my style, where I'm at with life. And I think especially with YouTube, it's been a thing over 10 years, and refining my style, how I present myself, how do I dress. Part of me feels also like I need to get to know myself better in this phase, in my mid-30s. And I don't know, it's part of self-discovery. It's also part of trying to understand where I'm at in life.
At the time, I don't think I fully understood what I was trying to say. I only knew that I felt disconnected from the version of myself I had spent the past 10 years building, and that continuing in the same way was becoming harder. By my final days in Madrid, all of those thoughts had started to come together. I sat down and wrote a letter to myself about the life I had created through travel and YouTube, what it had given me, and why I could myself feel beginning to let go. Oh, Madrid, you're the perfect city to say goodbye to the version of myself that has held me for so long, the past decade that went through so much. From the moment I stepped out of the country, I felt at peace with my decision, even though there was so much of the unknown. Leaving the country where I was from not only meant that I was ready for what was about to come and shape me, but also to meet my honest self, where I had to meet myself raw and unfiltered, and took the biggest decision of stepping outside of the identity I grew up with, parted ways and divorcing the religion whilst reconstructing my identity. Continuing my journey with YouTube, crafting stories from not knowing how to make a video or craft visual storytelling, I slowly found my voice. It gives me strength, vulnerability, humility, and a sense of courage to explore the world on my own terms. 10 years later, finding home in the UK, whilst trying to maintain that sense of self, I find myself ready to let go. That this path, even though it's amazingly different, it's the path that has been so solitary in the way that it works. It is something that is no longer serving me, as I crave something different whilst entering my mid-30s. Being in Madrid whilst also going through this, having met my old friends, regaining energy, and it has dawned on me that I am in the middle of a transition and find it harder to operate in my old mode. By the end of my Madrid stay, the emotions and internal processing is still happening. Perhaps I have to accept that this last few days in Madrid is just going to be a trip where I was processing this for myself before being able to share it on social media. The question would be how to find that clarity when entering the next chapter in life, albeit it is scary. Emotional processing takes time, and I might not have the answer or the clarity right now, but I know I will eventually.
if I keep taking you along, this seems to be where all the tourists are. So this is Gran Via, this huge shopping arcade and boulevard, because it spans all the way there, and you can see like some of these gorgeous buildings. So that's the Gran Via metro, which was built in 1919. I took one of these buses yesterday because you can technically get a bus pass. You know what, I probably should try again, because my current tourist bus pass is still valid. ¿Quieres descansar aquí un poco? So that's the bus I just got on. I think that's 100% electric, but I just got off to Plaza de España because I'm heading to that square. It's perfect temperature for me because it's not cold, nor it is freezing, nor it is hot, which I prefer because I'm not sure if you are familiar, but I prefer in a much cooler temperature. There's this gorgeous fountain over here. I passed by this yesterday because I took a bus and it was something along of a square. I'd be honest with you that I was feeling apprehensive coming to Spain, and for some reason all I think about is being scared of like petty theft, pickpocket and things like that. I think because Madrid being so popular, you hear this kind of stories like, you know, things that people go through on the metro. But I have been so surprised myself with how much I enjoy being in Madrid, because it's the likelihood of being able to walk freely, and the weather is really pleasant, and prices are within my range, and if not cheaper than the UK obviously, and not as painful as Norway. So it makes the experience even more pleasant. I was just on a call with Dave, and it looks like he is feeling very poorly. We both got sick at the same time, but he might have gotten something else again. I was saying to him, part of the reason why I think I'm enjoying being in Madrid is because the Spanish generally have the same height as mine, and I don't feel so short, because in Northern Europe, especially Norway, the Nordic are so tall and they're so good looking, they look so chic, everything is just so wonderful. So then being here, I don't feel too unattractive, is all I'm saying. So this is Temple de Debod, which I think was gifted by the president or something of an Egyptian rather. How great to have an Egyptian temple in the middle of a city like Madrid. And I think in this part you get to see panoramic view of the city.
to take a bus again, and I'm heading to a district called La Latina. After taking the bus, I arrived at La Latina, one of Madrid's oldest and most traditional neighborhoods. My first impression was that it felt incredibly cozy and lively, with its narrow streets, small plazas, and plenty of people sitting outside the local bars and cafes. I decided to stop for an impromptu afternoon snack at a casual Spanish chain best known for its small tapas. Although somehow, instead of ordering one of those, I ended up with nachos topped with bacon and an orange juice. Not exactly the traditional tapas experience I had imagined, but it gave me the chance to sit down before continuing my afternoon around La Latina. So this district looks to be like hipster kind of area. It's got a bit more energy and different vibes. A bit more laid back, that's what I'm trying to say. So you've got so many different posters that says samba, flamenco, so many different flowers. That looks cute. Oh, €6 for this. That's not bad. How amazing is this? Just see people sitting outside underneath this tree. Just looks so cute.
Isn't this so fun? So to my right, these are, I think, just tapas bar on this square. To my left as well. It just keeps on giving, guys.
It looks like this area has got so many tapas restaurants and bars and a great nightlife, which probably isn't suitable for me. So what I'm going to do is actually going back and in fact probably go to a Vietnamese place, because I prefer eating Vietnamese food right now. I had banh mi yesterday and it was amazing, so authentic. Who would have thought in Madrid? The sea of people. Honestly, Madrid, you just keep on giving. You just keep on giving. I thought I've explored quite a bit of the city, but it's just surprisingly so vibrant, is all I'm saying. Looking back, Madrid didn't give me a clear answer about what should come next. But perhaps this was never what I needed from this trip. It gave me enough distance to recognize that I had changed and enough energy to imagine that changing direction did not have to mean losing everything I had built. I am still working at what starting over at 34 actually looks like, both in my life and on this channel. Maybe it will be less polished, less predictable, and not always centered around travel. But I want to reflect where I genuinely am, rather than continuing to perform a version of myself that I have already begun to outgrow. This video almost remained unseen because I thought it didn't fit. Perhaps this is exactly why it feels important to share. Thank you so much for accompanying me exploring Madrid. I hope you enjoyed that, and let me know what you think. I can't wait to see you again on the next video because it's been fun. I need to make more videos like this whenever I got the chance to explore new places. But yeah, hope you enjoyed that, and I can't wait to see you again next time. Bye.